In the previous video, I explained the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is a product of the Nyingma school. The Tibetan Book of the Dead explained how to attain Buddhahood after death. In this video, I explain in detail the process of a person's birth and death in this world, from the Gelug edition of the Book of the Dead. Now, let me explain the process of being born into this world. First of all, the subtle mind, which is from the previous life, and the subtle wind, which is the vehicle of that subtle mind, enter the mother's womb. Then, the four elements of the subtle mind, the subtle wind, the white drop of the father's origin, and the red drop of the mother's origin, come together. And they form a small ball that cannot be seen with the naked eye. This is called an indestructible drop. And even after birth, it continues to exist in an inert state in the heart. Then, the physical body is created from the four elements of the natural world. The nature of the earth element is to hold. The nature of the water element is to accumulate. The nature of the fire element is to mature. The nature of the wind element is to expand. Then, the gross wind is born from the subtle wind. Wind is the same concept as prana. The gross wind has functions such as body movement, digestion, speech, and perception. Along with the gross wind, the gross mind is born. And part of the white drop of the indestructible drop moves to the head. Then, the head becomes the center of the white drop. Likewise, part of the red drop of the indestructible drop moves to the navel. Then, the navel becomes the center of the red drop. And a human being is born into this world. After birth, the wind flows through the left and right channels and other subtle channels. And the wind also spreads outside the body. However, the central channel in the middle of the body is usually hollow. Next, I will explain the process of death. When a person dies, the wind gathers in the left and right channels, and finally dissolves in the central channel. Along with the wind, the gross mind also dissolves into the central channel. And the mind gradually approaches emptiness. The mandala explains that human beings are made up of the five aggregates and the four elements. The five aggregates are form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. When the wind dissolves into the central channel at the time of death, the five aggregates and the four elements gradually dissolve. First, form melts away, and your body becomes weak. The earth elements melt away, and you feel like your body is sinking into the ground. The earth elements melt away, and the water element becomes dominant. Then, something like a mirage comes into your mind. Next, feeling melts away, and you no longer feel pain or suffering. The water element melts away, and most of the body fluids, such as sweat, dry up. The water elements melt away, and the fire element becomes dominant. Then, something like smoke comes into your mind. Next, perception melts away, and it becomes impossible to remember the names of your family members. The fire element melts away, and your body temperature drops. The fire elements melt away, and the wind element becomes dominant. Then, something like fireflies comes into your mind. Next, mental formations melt away, and you become unaware of your activities and purpose in this world. The wind element melts away, and you lose the ability to inhale and exhale. Because the wind elements melt away, something like lamplight comes into your mind. Next, all the wind entering the central channel loosens the knot at the head, and the white drop at the head moves to the heart. Then, a white vision appears. This is called luminance. Next, all the wind entering the central channel loosens the knot near the genitals, and the red drop at the navel moves to the heart. Then, a red vision appears. This is called radiance. The white and red drops melt into the indestructible drop, and all the gross wind melts into subtle wind in the indestructible drop. Then, a black vision appears. This is called immanence. At that time, the mind approaches the clear light. The clear light is the ultimate source beyond subjectivity and objectivity, from which all things are created. And, by approaching the clear light, the bardo body made of the subtle wind and subtle mind arises. Then, after death, one enters the bardo. The bardo body is an imperfect body that is bound by karma. The bardo body dies, and is reborn in heaven, the human world, hell, and so on. If the bardo body is not reborn at that time, the bardo body arises again and remains in the bardo. Nevertheless, the bardo body is destined to die again and be reborn in the next life. However, if you can realize emptiness and completely dissolve into the clear light during the bardo, you can achieve liberation from the cycle of rebirth. When you completely dissolve into the clear light, your karma is purified. Then, a light body that is not bound by rebirth arises. Whether or not you can attain Buddhahood after death depends on the teachings you received in life and the practices you did in life. It is important to prepare for the afterlife while you are alive in this world.